Thank you, Billy. Beautiful song. I think it's interesting, the picture we picked behind us, Betty's just strumming right along with Billy, huh? Not only did she love the music, she decided to sing along today, so that's got a big smile on her face right now, as far as that's concerned. We're gathered here today in paradise, in a beautiful, gorgeous day. I think Betty would have ordered for a celebration like today. I mean, how gorgeous is this? Although she might have been out at the beach, maybe wandering a bit back in the day on a day like this and enjoying the nature that's around us, the cycles of life that are always around us, the expansive skies reaching to the heavens, where Betty has returned to home, and the winds of change are blowing through right now for each and every one of you. It's a time, even though a full and wonderful life, amazing life, it's always too short for our hearts when they leave, whenever they do. And thank God it was peaceful for her and gentle for her. And right now she smiles on you as much as you smile in your heart for her, no doubt. I like to think of us waiting for the sunrise of our life. Out here in this area, we look out over the water and the sun begins to rise, and the sky begins to get brighter, but when that sun breaks that horizon, that brilliant, beautiful light ripples across the water, that is our spirit. That's our soul coming into this world to share in this world who we are. And the waters are like our life rolling up against the earth to bless it, to bring the gifts that we are. And you know, God knows, we know, Betty did that. And she left this world a better place because of who she was. What she did, yes. But there's a yearning of purpose driven by faith and love for each one of us. And each of us have our own faith. And we follow that from within, that reflection of our own presence within, and what we believe and what we believe in. And then what we love and care about, family, friends, and so much more that she touched and blessed in this world. And this is a day where we share our pain, but we share our love and our joy. And the more we share our love and joy with our pain, there's less pain and more love and joy. Especially in a situation where we're gathered here and those who will be looking later to bless and hold our love and our mind for our memories of Betty. I know by what I've learned to know, as a privilege and a gift to celebrate her today, she will live on forever through all of you because of your love for her and the memories you've had. And she's got plenty of them. There is no doubt about that. Outgoing. I was supposed to come up with a different word for busybody, but I didn't. No, this was meant very respectfully and honorably. We don't mean this in a negative way by any means. She was always interested in everybody. She always wanted to know about them, always asked about them, always remembered everything about them. Where do you live? How are you doing? Even people that weren't directly connected to her, the girls' friends, how are they? What's going on with them? What a beautiful, beautiful thing. And always helping people. I mean, even when they're in trouble, or if they needed financial help or needed to be into her own home. Sometimes families, non-family, even homeless people. So one of the things that came to me as we were talking, Deb and Pat and the girls, is that there's a statue up here of Mother Mary. And she had an affinity for Mother Mary. And I want to start by saying, think about what Mother Mary means. She's one who nurtures and cares and brings her love so as unconditionally for people. What she represents is someone we can turn to in our hearts or in our faith or in our way of believing, whatever that might be, and trust in knowing that she is there to comfort us and to be there for us. Well, I think she had an affinity for Mother Mary because that's how she lived her life. She gave and shared, not because of what she would get back, because it was a part of who she was. I talked about that purpose and that faith in the sunrise of our life. Well, she found hers in being able to be who she was, which was quite a lady, and at the same time give and share and do for others. Certainly had a big heart. In 1 Corinthians it says, love is patient, love is kind, always trusts, always hopes, always perseveres, love never fails. I like to think of that scripture as kind of a prescription for how we can live our life. Those characteristics of our soul are the way we can be who we are and make a difference in the world. And I think if we took love out of that scripture and we put Betty in it, patient, well, most of the time. And no disrespect, but kind, trusting, hopeful, persevered. Boy, did she persevere, and did she ever fail? Did she ever fail to be Betty? She was always Betty. You could always count on that, no matter what it was. And that was like always good, always good. Lots of fun, a fun person. This was my favorite, I think, out of all of it, a 4-foot-something firecracker. And always cared, never missed a birthday, every year, every time. And I don't know if I'm supposed to mention money or not, but there was always a crisp $20 bill in that card when it showed up, right? So that's something you'll remember. These are the memories that have a connection to it, that bring a tear to your eye, but a smile to your heart at the same time. And that's amazing. Boy, she loved Ed and Eddie. But we're talking about the man she devoted her life to and spent so many decades with him and did so much with him. They came down for a vacation, said, that's it. Went back, packed up. Now I want you to think for a minute, this little picture, right? Beverly Hillbillies. Gets a 1987 stake bed truck. Even had wash tubs hanging off the side of it on the way back down when they moved. These are Pat's memories. We're not sure how accurate they are, but these are Pat's memories, so we have to take that into consideration when we're talking about these stories. But that's okay. That's okay. Loved the warm weather. Did not like the cold weather much. Wasn't going back up even to visit in later years because she liked it down here, and that's good. Let's see here. Oh, Patrice was called Tracy. And apparently, Betty named Alicia. They were in the hospital and couldn't get out, and because they had to have a name, and so Betty came up with it. So they sacrificed that, and she saved him. She got him out of the hospital. She has returned home, and you know, we're here to celebrate her and the gifts she's left you. And I want to bring to your attention that you touched her. You, each and every one of you, in your own way, touched her heart and soul. You are a gift to her. So as much as there's a celebration here of her, there's a celebration there of you, because you are as much a gift to her in your love that you had for her and have for her, that she has in this day that she's left behind for you. She returns home to there's quite a party going on up there, so to speak, in heaven. Certainly with Ed, and Eddie and Bill, and Ann, Joyce, Elaine, and Marge, and her great-grandson Chris. I mean, there's quite a party going on up there. They're enjoying themselves, reuniting, and holding their love for you. She knew the movie stars pretty good. My son's like that too. He studies all that stuff in the movies and all that. Not just who they were, but their lives. She might have read a little bit of People's Magazine. She was kind of a magazine kind of girl. In fact, the last couple of days of her life, she was reading People's even. She wanted to keep up with what was going on. So when she got back, she could come up with all the news that was necessary to share with everybody. And then, of course, there's an effect of raising 5 boys. We got pretty rugged. She was not very happy when she started out at 4'10", and then they examined her and she ended up being 4'8", but we won't blame that on the boys, but she also knew how to take care of where you were supposed to be and what you were supposed to do, how to help you guys toe the line a little bit, and that sometimes required a strap or a broom handle, but that was back in the days when there was corporal punishment, you know. I got some of that when I was a kid, so I know exactly what you're talking about. But, you know, a good Catholic family, and she actually got in the paper for chasing Pat around. The title of the article was "Spare the Rod and Spoil the Child." apparently she did have a few wild childs. You guys maybe caused a little trouble here and there. Well, she knew how to deal with it, and I'm sure it was right there behind her. You know, living our lives, we create a garment, so to speak, of life that we wear. We contribute to the fabric of life. We each weave a thread through our own garment or through the fabric of life and contribute that way. She's created some beautiful, beautiful part of the fabric of life. And we strike a note in the symphony of life, each of us unique and different. Everybody completely different. She struck hers true and real and left this world a better place, no doubt. Being Michigan and back here, she had a cottage at Gun Lake. She had a house trailer on the Thornapple River. In Florida, it was the beach. She may have a few shells around the house. A few thousand shells around the house. I was telling Pat and Deb, my grandmother grew up on Sanibel Island, and she also would walk the beaches and pick up shells and created a shell collection, which ended up being a Florida postcard for many years. So I can relate to her picking up the shells and the treasures that would be found and how much she would be excited each time she found one she knew was rare or something that she really enjoyed. It sounds like she picked up just about every one of the shells that she found as she combed the beach. Those are treasures, those are memories, those are reflections of her that will live forever. One of the last times Betty was up in Michigan, as she would do frequently when she was up there, especially in the early days, she was out driving the pontoon boat on the lake. Now, being 4'8", it's hard to see even over the steering wheel of the bow, but she was, let's just say she was making it across that lake at a pretty good clip. Pat and Deb had to slow her down just a little bit so nobody got hurt, but she was having a good time, always on the go, always looking for a deal, always looking for something she could collect, so to speak. And I asked if she collected anything. Oh my gosh, between Goodwill and the flea markets and estate sales, that was a life all in on its own, apparently. I don't know much about art glass, but it's that bluegrass, brown glass, milk glass, depression glass. I guess it's just about any kind of artsy kind of glass that you can find. I'm sure she was more of an expert at that, and right now is maybe snickering a bit about me not knowing as much as she did about it, but she had quite a collection, brought it down to Florida with her. Fenton bells, thanks to gifts. Angels, calling all angels. She had a big angel connection. This one I liked a lot, a large collection of trolls. Remember those little trolls with the funny hair and the funny faces? Gosh, I haven't seen them in a long time. In John it says, "In my Father's house are many mansions." Well, what does that mean? It's an interesting statement. Everybody can interpret it a little bit different. We don't earn by reward. We earn by being who we are, by our faith, by how we show up and be who we are in the world. I kind of think maybe she had a gold-plated name plaque on the front of her mansion when she got there. I think Ed was preparing it very meticulously to make sure that it was the way she needed it to be when she got there. Well, maybe, maybe not, but it's the way it's supposed to be now because she's there and it's being taken care of. There's probably a big beach behind her mansion so she can walk down it and pick up shells and listen to music when she wants to and read a book or two or three or four or apparently thousands of books that she read. Here's something else to think about, the character of a person who not only lives like Mother Mary, but reads, yes, for adventure, but also to learn and to grow and keep herself active. When we keep ourselves active, we live better lives and longer lives. Maybe a reason that she did because she read as much as she did. And talk about reflections. She may have left a few memories behind with the pictures that she's collected of the family over the years. That is such an amazing thing to have. I have got a couple of big plastic containers just so filled with photographs that go back to my great-grandmother and all my family going through. Those are treasures that are so important. And you would necessarily have to put a little bit of extra postage on every card you sent her because there better be a dozen or more pictures in them, or a CD or a picture when you send it in a frame. But she really loved that, and she's got that everywhere in her house. She enjoyed puzzles. She may have put together hundreds of them in the past 10 years or so. Again, imagine that for just a moment. A reader, someone who takes something that's in pieces and puts it together. It was almost how she lived life. No wonder she enjoyed putting a puzzle together, because it could create a picture from pieces. And she would take pieces sometimes of people and help put them back together and to make their lives a little bit better. She loved doing what she did with Ed when Ed was here. God bless them. And then she had another love in her life, other than her kids and grandkids and so on, that there was then the dogs that were really important to her. Heidi, the special one right now, still here. She loved all dogs. There was Fifi, and she has a little bit of a thing for Buddy. Buddy Baby, she would call him. Buddy Baby, right? And then Buddy had a thing for her, because Buddy was not as comfortable with people that might have been like in a walker and things like that. And there he was right there next to her all the time. As you were looking at the pictures, you could see he was always there. And there might have been a little bit of, he sit at the table here, feeding the dog under the table. They may have had a special relationship because there was a little bit of a reward system going on. But no, we talked about this. The unconditional love of dogs is the same kind of love as Mother Mary or as Betty that she had. I mean, it's so beautiful. And then there was Smokey back in Michigan. The girls said that they thought she was a dog whisperer. I think maybe the dogs whispered to her too, because she was someone that could connect with them and be with them as far as that's concerned. I think Heidi's got it made. I'd like to have it as good as Heidi's got it right now. And from now on, she has been getting sauteed chicken breasts for dinner, and will be now, by the wishes of Betty, for the rest of her life. So we'll see how that goes. Love of her life. Ed. They met on a double date, blind date. That's where your girlfriend says, come on, go out with me so we can go on a double date, and I'm going to bring somebody for you to meet. And it's a blind date, so they got to go out on this blind date. Well, let's just say the boyfriend that Betty had at the time was no longer her boyfriend after the blind date. It was one of those love at first sights. And 65 plus years of marriage. I mean, my God, today, that's as long as I am alive in this world. That's a beautiful thing to be able to say that two people had an opportunity to share their hearts with each other, not just their love, but to share their hearts as one. And back home together, and their love is forever, as is yours for her, but for each other. It was kind of a bit of a catch. Just got out of the Navy, and Hawaii, Pat told me, that was pretty interesting. Oh, that was your brother, I'm sorry. So he was in the Merchant Marines, and Ed was, and then the Navy. So he traveled the world and been in the war and all that kind of stuff, so he was kind of a catch. So it might have been a little bit different than some of the other people that she was in touch with. But when you see the person that you love and are going to love for the rest of your life, it's very clear. And that happened in a double date, blind date for her. Comes to music, a little bit of Bobby Vinton back in the day, Frank Sinatra. Pat would play some of his pop, and she liked that too. Ed liked a little bit of Johnny Cash and Elvis. Betty did also. I always like to ask about food, because food is one of my favorite things. And asked if Betty was a good cook, and I was told she was an expert cook. How else do you split a chicken among 6 kids and 2 adults and make a meal out of it? My grandmother had 13 brothers and sisters, so I got an idea about what you're talking about. We've had family meals where we made things work when there wasn't a lot to go. So, wow. And then, of course, the Greek cookies. Those were really important, passed down as a family recipe. She loved making them, and everybody loved eating them. No doubt about that. She liked the seafood, go out to Anna Maria and have a dinner out there. Then there was I'm sorry, I keep getting all these stories, so the chuckles you're hearing me as I'm beginning to tell something is something that Pat and Deb and the girls have told me, but then there's the Chinese buffet where she went. And I love that she said why she went there was because she was 4'8" and everybody else was the same height as her. She thought that was... See, that's why I was chuckling before I went to say that, right? And then, of course, she thought she was getting away with sneaking cookies out of a Chinese buffet. So she'd bring them home for everybody to have. You know, this is just such a wonderful woman. I mean, she just had so many facets in the reflection of who she is in the world. How amazing. And then, of course, Hershey's Kisses. It was one of her favorites to have. I put them in the freezer, so if you guys don't put your chocolate in the freezer, try it. It adds just a bit of a crunch and so on to it. They had a good relationship, a wonderful relationship. And then I asked who was the boss. It was unanimous. There wasn't any hesitation that Betty was the boss. And that was, of course, mutual and with respect. They had a good relationship as far as that's concerned. But Betty was just one of those kind of people that would take care of people and loved her grandchildren, loved her great-grandchildren and great-great-grandchildren. God, she's got a small army she's left behind to take care of things for her. But she would just do anything for them, no matter what. You know, superstar or in jail, it didn't matter. It was, and if you got off track, she didn't hesitate to let you know how she felt about that. She would give you a big hug and a lot of acceptance with a little bit of a lecture to follow, a little Irish diplomacy. And that was a good thing, because you don't learn by telling people how it is. You learn by looking at how somebody lives their life. And we get up every morning and we look at the world and we see the news and we sometimes don't even understand some of the things that are going on in the world. And we look for answers. How can we make this world a better place? Well, Betty was, is, and forever will be an example to look to how you can live your life. How you can be someone that makes a difference in this world by being who you are. Not by trying, but by being who you are. Waitress for many, many years, the Elks Club in the Long's Convention Center in Michigan. Apparently she could run circles around everybody else. She could remember all the orders, and she was always getting it done. Did you see this little firecracker running around doing what needed to get done? Country club down here in Florida. And then being there, a little twist of fate, she would meet someone, Mrs. Brown from Tropicana, and they asked her to come over and take care of Mrs. Brown in her later years. So that was an important part of her life, to be able to have that. I understand there might be still a few Tropicana towels around the house. And let's not negate that relationship. She was very generous, gave Betty a car, gave her some of her jewelry. There was a very close connection that they had with each other, with what she was taking care of her as she ended her life in later years, as far as that was concerned. There was a little bit of camping when you guys were growing up, mostly tents, a little bit of silver trailer they towed around too. Legally Elizabeth, usually Betty, Mom, Grandma, and Shorty by Deb. I don't know how much, did she like that? Did she think that was an affectionate term, or did she think it was kind of like that? I was like, okay, just curious about that. Then there was the sailboat, 18-foot racing boat, and Pat decided, let's go out in the boat together. So she gets in the boat, and they get out there sailing off of Anna Maria and end up in Tampa Bay. And there's this cool little island out in the middle of the mouth of Tampa Bay. It's about 4 miles out, and Pat's the kind of person that's got a lot of courage, so he's going to decide to sail the boat out there. Well, this particular boat is a little bit top-heavy. Even without the sail up, it's a little bit top-heavy. Well, sure enough, they're out there in the water, and it tips over, and you get over onto the rudder to try to put it back up, but he didn't realize till he was out on the rudder when Mom said, well, you know these are shark-infested waters, don't you? So, and then he had to convince Betty to get out of the boat and get in the water with him on the rudder to be able to get the sailboat back up. Well, after a while, after he said, Mom, we're going to have to do this, because if not, we're going to have to learn how to speak Spanish, because we're going to end up in Mexico. She got out and got in the water, and she helped him tip the boat up, and they headed back. Let's just say there wasn't much said on the way back. let's just say she never got in a sail boat after that. Nope, no thank you would be her answer to that, or going to the cold or anything else like that. So she'd be known to say that once in a while. I have to say, though, that after getting to know Betty a little bit, I've treasured the opportunity to be able to share a little bit about her and be able to talk a little bit about her. I mean, I never got to meet her, but you all had to have had her as a part of your life. So I just want to thank all of you for the privilege of being able to share about Betty today in that way. And I'd like to stop and thank Bob. There's so much that you've done to take care of Dad in the nursing home and Mom in these last years. Couldn't have done it without you, and so I want to make sure you're thanked for that, and know how special you're held in that way for all that you have done, and the love that you have always had for her. But to be able to give like that is an important piece of the puzzle in situations where it is needed. So thank you, Bob, for that. And yet, as I speak, I can only share what's been shared with me. Nobody speaks like family and friends like family and friends. So I'd like to stop for a minute and see if there's anyone here that might want to share a word or two about Betty today at all before we continue.
She had the best holiday dinners.
Holiday dinners. Oh, a woman after my own heart. Oh my gosh. I can remember those. You can imagine my grandmother had 13 brothers and sisters. We'd have meals with lots of people and lots of food. That's what I'm hearing you say. Anybody else have a word or a thought about Betty or Grandma? Or?
I think my favorite is my grandma was in the you call it, the home that he was in towards the end. We had Alzheimer's, and she knew that there were certain parts of his mind that were, the musical part was still there. He
right.
plays harmonica, that type of thing, but some other parts were kind of floating away. But he remembered her, so she would wear the same perfume every time she put on a little extra, and she was like, that's how I know he'll remember. And as soon as she'd walk in the room, he would say, do you see how beautiful that woman is? And he's like, I think she likes me. And I'm like, I think she likes you too, Grandpa. And he's like, fixing himself up. And she was right, just even that smell of her perfume brought it back. And he remembered his musical skills, and he never lost track of her.
That's so beautiful.
Yeah,
that's so beautiful. And they are back together now without any limitations at all of mind or body or anything else.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. Anybody else? Please, just.
There was one more story that I thought was really kind of cute. For her 80th birthday, a lot of us got together and we took her to see Billy Strings at the Ark in Ann Arbor. And so anyway, Boomer had her come backstage, and as they were warming up back there to get ready for the performance, she went back there. She was back there with him for a while, and then when she came back out, she had this big smile on her face, and she said, he was so nice, and he played music just for me. And she just looked up and smiled. So, you're right, Mom.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic. Well, music was an important part of her life, and Billy, thank you for the music you've shared with us today. Another song that was really beautiful and important to her was Amazing Grace. So we're going to just take a few minutes to listen to that song and just feel that connection to the music.
I
grace has guided her home, most certainly. I spoke of the sunrise of our life, and at least for right now, there's a sunset for every sunrise. The sun begins to get close to the horizon, and as it drops behind the horizon, it seems to go dark, doesn't it? But we know something, don't we? The sun's always shining. Just like our spirit, just like our soul, just like Betty's spirit, her inspiration, her strength, her encouragement, her love, her giving, her caring, her kindness. It will shine forever like a star in the night sky in each of your lives. And I ask you to consider something today. When we leave behind the gifts that you've received, maybe things that you've been reflecting on these last couple of months, who she was to you, or maybe what you learned from her as a gift that's made your life better, that's her legacy. And that's an opportunity for her legacy to continue, is for you to share it. And when you share it by giving or caring or being kind, or sometimes strong where it's necessary, think of her and the love you have of her in her heart. And her legacy continues. It continues to make the difference in this world. Obviously through each of you, and let's see here, 14 grandchildren, 23 great-grandchildren, 12 great-great-grandchildren, as well as her children and sisters and brothers. I mean, my God, she definitely has an army here left to carry on her legacy, and you're part of that. So please consider that. I like to look at the eagle. It says eagle's wings in Scripture. The other day I was actually in my backyard, and I love to see this. I looked up and an eagle was circling in the sky above my home, and they seemed to float on the air far above the earth, almost like in connection to heaven and in communion with God. They're just soaring, and your love is what lifts her wings, those eagle's wings, or in her case maybe it's angel's wings that she earned. And she soars effortlessly now far above and beyond this world and its limitations and anything that she had to go through or anything that she had to deal with. So she is free. She has returned home, and she is at peace. In Ecclesiastes, it says, to everything there is a season and a purpose under heaven. A time to be born and a time to die. A time to weep, as we have this day and may continue to, and a time to laugh. A time to mourn and a time to dance. And I'm pretty sure by the little bit I've learned about Betty, is she would want you to shed the tears that you're shedding because it's a sad time. It's a loss. You wish she could still be here. And she would want the smiles and the laughter to return to your faces as you pass through this time of sorrow and of loss. And as those smiles and laughter return to your faces, even though you mourn her and wish you could hug her one more time, she would want you to dance, to live your life inside out and wide open and be who you are, like she did, to make the difference that she did in your lives and in this world. Thank you, Betty, for all that you have done, who you are and forever will be. You are a true blessing, always, always. And this gathering is not a farewell, not at all. This is a celebration of how much you love her and she loves you, and you'll be with her again one day. Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we open ourselves to feel your love, your light, your provision, your protection, each of us in our own unique way. We can feel our hearts opened with love, and we feel Betty here. And as much as we celebrate you, Betty, we know you are here embracing your children and grandchildren, just reaching out to all who right now bring their love to you and your love to them. And we thank you. We thank you for all that you have been, are, and forever will be. And like God's love, your love given so unconditionally, and your light shared, touching the lives of those so brilliantly and beautifully. We're grateful to come together as family and friends to support each other through a time that sometimes we don't understand, and we never quite answer the question, why now? And yet we trust in our hearts through love and faith, as do you, all is well, and will continue to be so. We're grateful for Betty, who she was, who she is, who she will be now and forevermore. Amen. This does conclude the service here in the chapel today. There will be a a service at the National Cemetery at 2 p.m. So blessings to all of you, and as you would like, please share amongst yourselves as we're getting ready to head over in that direction for that service at 2 p.m. Thank you all very much.
Smile, though your heart is aching. Smile, even though it's breaking. When there are clouds in the sky, you get by. If you smile through your fear and sorrow, smile and maybe tomorrow you'll see the sun come shining through. Light up your face with gladness, hide every trace of sadness. Although a tear may be ever so near, that's the time you must keep on trying. Smile, what's the use of crying? You'll find that life is still worthwhile if you just smile. That's the time you must keep on trying. Smile, what's the use of crying? You'll find that life is still worthwhile if you just smile.
She